Welcome to Space News from the Electric Universe, brought to you by the Thunderbolts project at thunderbolts.info. Science headlines in September of 2017 have delivered perhaps the final nails in the coffin of the dirty snowball hypothesis of comets, while affirming the predictions of the electric comet theory. So stark are the respective successes and failures of the opposing theories. It raises serious questions, not only about the state of comet science, but also of institutional science as a whole. Our first headline comes from the official website of NASA's Hubble Space Telescope. Scientists enlisted the use of the telescope after discovering a comet between the orbits of Saturn and Uranus. The comet, called C-2017-K2, is historic because it's the farthest inbound comet ever seen that has become active, at an incredible 1.5 billion miles away, or 16 astronomical units. At such a distance from the Sun, the temperatures are minus 440 degrees Fahrenheit. Comet ice is not supposed to sublimate at distances beyond just 3 astronomical units. Unfortunately, the Hubble press release on this amazing discovery reveals it has had no effect at all on the assumptions behind consensus comet theory. The press release states, "A solitary frozen traveler has been journeying for millions of years toward the heart of our planetary system. The wayward vagabond, a city-sized snowball of ice and dust called a comet, was gravitationally kicked out of the Oort cloud, its frigid home at the outskirts of the solar system. This region is a vast comet storehouse, composed of icy leftover building blocks from the construction of the planets 4.6 billion years ago. Neither the existence of a hypothetical Oort cloud, nor the treasured 4.6 billion year history of our solar system have been proven scientifically. Indeed, as we've reported for 5 years on this series, countless theory-shattering discoveries have sent scientists searching for entirely new theories of planet and star formation. But perhaps most astounding is the continued description of a comet as a, quote, snowball of ice and dust. That such a description is published in a report on a comet that is active at 1.5 billion miles from the Sun reveals a disturbing disconnect from scientific discovery. Today, it is not merely, quote, alternative theorists such as those in the electric universe community who say that the dirty snowball hypothesis has been falsified. In the last week, the European Space Agency released the last image that was sent by the Rosetta space probe as it crashed into the surface of Comet 67P. Perhaps for the first time, we see the world's largest news outlets discussing comets with no attempt to convince the public that comets are dirty snowballs. Rather, the outlets acknowledge what any human being can see with his or her own eyes. The comet is made of rock, desiccated, stratified, blackened, and strewn with rubble and debris. It is as far from a, quote, dirty snowball as any comet could be. In fact, it was 3 years ago that Rosetta scientist Dr. Nicholas Thomas said Rosetta has blown the dirty snowball idea out of the water. The incredible images from the Rosetta probe affirm the statement beyond any possible doubt. In the last week, the ESA released more than 1,000 images of the 67P nucleus for public download. Let us juxtapose the respective predictive theories of a comet's composition and origins as proposed by official science versus those of the chief principles of the Thunderbolts project. Comet science has maintained for many decades that comets are aggregates of ice and dust that formed through a process of accretion or condensation out in the, quote, Siberia of the solar system. The image on the left is an artistic rendering of the expected surface of a comet prior to the mission to Comet Halley in 1986. On the right is a slightly modified depiction, which Rosetta scientists expected to find at 67P. In contrast, the electric comet theory, as proposed by the Thunderbolts project, has always stated that comets, as well as asteroids and meteoroids, were electrically excavated from planetary surfaces. The desiccated, rocky, rubble-strewn, and complexly layered 67P nucleus are all the predicted features of the electric comet theory. In countless 67P images, we see what can only be described as planetary features. We see stunning evidence for stratification, a geological process that is found in most sedimentary rocks, and is thought to result from eons of wind and water erosion. Of course, such layered rock material was never expected by comet scientists. A so-called snowball of ice and dust that is thought to lose surface material through sublimation of volatiles and outgassing has no business showing features that appear indistinguishable from canyons and cliff faces in the American Southwest. These undeniably planetary features on a comet mark an extraordinary success for the electric comet theory, but with no acknowledgement to date from official science. If any doubt had remained about the dire need for astronomers to entertain radically new theories of comet origins, the discovery of stratified rock on a comet surely underscores the urgency. In our next episode, we will continue to explore these game-changing discoveries, including the electric universe interpretation of comet activity at 16 astronomical units. And we will address the questions of comet density and comet water production, lingering obstacles for scientists who still see comets as dirty snowballs. In conclusion, we pose the oft-asked question, is science self-corrective? As we ponder this question, look at the pictures. The NASA Space Agency still describes bodies such as these as, quote, snowballs of ice and dust. Look at the pictures. Let us entertain for a moment that these distinctly planetary features exist on a comet because the comet was torn from a planet. Look at the pictures, and let us consider the world of new and exhilarating possibilities that await in the electric universe. For continuous updates on space news from the electric universe, stay tuned to thunderbolts.info.